I've been up way too long to really kick this off.
Mhm.
Someone else kick
Yeah.
this episode off for me.
Sure.
It's the combination of the lack of sleep and the lack of enthusiasm around Godzilla versus
Oh.
Kong.
Okay.
As the
Okay.
kids say, I can't even.
Yeah, here he
Okay.
goes.
All right. I think it's proper that we start this off by going around and saying, even before this Godzilla versus Kong
Mhm.
stuff,
Mhm.
we need to go around and say what team we're on.
I
Team
can do that.
Godzilla, Team Kong. Without think about that time,
Mhm.
days ago before you saw the movie.
Mhm.
Are you Team Kong or Team Godzilla?
Ian, would you like to go first?
Well, I think you can. I don't know how the color's showing up with this shirt.
Oh.
It is
Okay.
either green or brown. I don't know.
Wow.
So
It's like a meme.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's the
What
blue,
color
the
is
blue
the
or
dress?
gold dress. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm officially Team Edward. That's where I come down.
Yeah.
I have no connection
Like
or
Team Switzerland.
I have no connection or affinity to either of these creatures, characters, movies. So I'll just kind of leave it up to you guys. I'll be the referee
man.
if you want to duke it
Okay.
out, assuming you're coming out. I know what team you're on, David. This is not fair.
That's
Okay.
true.
Okay.
But,
But the
at least I
podcast
think I
listeners
do.
don't know what team he's on, so that's why it's part of the show here.
Of course
All
they
right.
do. They all follow David Fowley. They love keeping it real as David Fowley.
Okay. I am Team Zilla. Team Zilla for sure.
Wow.
Okay.
Like I mean, I think the King Kong movies are better than all the Godzilla movies, but in terms of like tail of the tape and getting the Vince McMahon microphone on and like who should win this battle, it's a nuclear effing lizard against a furry overgrown ape. Give me Team Zilla.
Okay, granted, I'm sure, he's got the firepower and he's probably been around longer, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah.
But, my heart is with Kong. I mean, he's
it's the little native girl.
I mean, just the way just the way this movie opens up with him waking up. It's pretty much
Scratching his butt.
That's pretty much the way I wake up, and I'm like, that's an ape after my own heart.
That was like a mumblecore indie movie. Like how many? Let's be honest, guys. How many indie movies have we seen where the pre-credit scene is like the getting up and getting ready for the day scene?
We
got that with
taking
Bobby's,
a shower. Taking
Right.
a shower in a waterfall.
But it makes sense because this is Adam Wingard who came up with Joe Swanberg and that whole outfit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all in line.
And I never thought I would see a mumblecore monster movie with Bobby Vinton, but here we are.
Bobby Vinton and ending with the Hollies. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh! Right?
That's strike number 17 against that movie for me. Look, that I was not impressed with that. And by the way, we're going to be talking spoilers. So if you
Here we
haven't
go.
checked this movie out,
right,
just
see you
do it
guys
now. Wait,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, David, you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
No, I love The Air That I Breathe, that Hollies song, and I think it was used to perfection in the movie Seeking a Friend for the End of the World.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
But to just have it kind of thrown away on this really weird, nonsensical Kong ending, it's like they come up from the wreckage of Hong Kong to the island just so he can swing by or something. Like, oh, that's it. That's where we're going. Okay, bye.
And same thing with Bobby Vinton. Like, come on,
It definitely. I mean, starting it out with that, it definitely established something that I wasn't sure I was willing to buy into immediately. But I'm like, okay, well, this is at least different. Let's see where this goes. You know,
is Kong gonna rub one out in the waterfall shower? Like, are we Kevin Spaceying our morning from American Beauty here? What's going on? I was wondering, but no. Let's.
I just want to see him with that narration. Look at me jerking off in the shower.
Oh, you know what? He did whittle some wood, wink, wink, and then chucked it to the sky. So he did explode
while a little girl was watching.
Oh, well then.
Oh my gosh.
Call Harvey Weinstein.
Well, my first thought when I saw that was a flashback to Zack Snyder's Justice League, where they were trying to get the Amazons are trying to get the attention of Wonder Woman by sending that spear through the air. I'm like, oh, here we go again.
I just thought of the hex from WandaVision. It's like, wow, they just put a hex over Kong, and wow.
Look,
so hexes are the new glowing thing in the sky, or is that the new trend we're going to get?
I think so.
Hexes are the new black. David, I want to go back to something you had said earlier, talking about music. I know what I figured what your allegiance was, but now I want to see or hear Celine Dion sing the theme for this movie, My Heart Will Go Kong.
Oh, that's good.
Now we're talking.
Yes,
Now we're
yes.
talking.
Or Get It On, Bang a Kong. No.
Wow.
Wow.
Performed by Shaka Kong. Shaka
Okay.
Kong.
Shaka Kong. That's gonna be his mistress, Shaka Kong.
You guys are coming up with show titles right and left here.
Well, you know, we have to be more creative than the film we're actually talking about. That's a requirement.
Look, I mean, I started out my review. Well, I don't know. I can't remember. It's only been 24 hours since I wrote it, but I mentioned in my review, let's say, that I'm kind of grown weary of critics complaining about the human characters in these movies.
Oh,
I mean, come on, they're inconsequential. I mean, you know, it's like saying, I don't know, Roland Emmerich disaster movie or something it has great, you know, human characters.
Let's look at,
in my opinion.
Listen.
Yeah.
Independence Day.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. You look at Randy Quaid. You look at Bill Pullman. Jeff Goldblum in every disaster movie he's in.
Well, okay, I'll give it that. I think that those movies do give at least that movie. I don't know about like
Jurassic Park.
What was the other one? 2012 and
you don't.
And all
John
those other
Cusack's
disaster
limo driver
movies?
doesn't do it for you. Come on.
Yeah. But at least in that movie, Independence Day, they gave at least some good dialogue, some good moments for those characters to shine. This is the fourth movie in this new MonsterVerse, and you know, credit where credit's due. They tried to do a like Universal Monsters reboot with Tom Cruise's The Mummy, and that just didn't go anywhere. At least we're 4 movies in with this. Congrats, you know, Legendary. Yeah. Congrats, Legendary and Warner Brothers. You at least have 4 movies in the can.
They won't get a 5th.
Oh, it's in the can, all right.
Yeah.
Now, Don, you bring up a good point. You don't think there's going to be a 5th movie?
Well,
this thing's doing huge overseas. I know.
Well, since we're in spoilers, these movies have done a very Marvel-esque job of springboarding to your next thing, and there's not a single springboard in this movie.
Not really. No.
Like, if this is, I hate to say it, this is the closure we're gonna get. This blows for
It rings hollow Earth.
Edgar Rice Burroughs is rolling over in his Oak Park grave up here. Here we go. No, I will be the counter to David, where to me that is a separator between good monster and disaster movies and another is if you, of course, the monster and the disaster can be thrilling, and Godzilla and Kong on their own can be extremely compelling and extremely thrilling, and a good disaster movie, the disaster itself can be outstandingly impressive. But what elevates the crappy ones to the good ones is when you can have good humans. And I don't think it's too much to ask, especially when you spend so much screen time trying to flesh out these crappy characters, that you can't ask, well, ask is the wrong word, but that you can't hope for a movie to have both. Have great monsters and spectacle and some good human characters, because the best of the genres do. And Independence Day rings 1,000 times as this example, and the counter examples are the things like the Transformers movies, where you just have tag along actors that show up for the paycheck. When you have Stanley Tucci in a Transformers movie, oh yeah, when you throw actors in here collecting paychecks that aren't stick around characters, yeah, I will be that critic that calls that out and grades them lower because you don't have compelling humans. And that's where my review opens. Is we're at the point, especially 4 movies in, where I would love it if there was a character you could count on and come and anchor to 4 movies in, and we don't have that because you killed off Ken Watanabe last movie. So when and Millie Bobby Brown is just not enough for me. Sorry guys, in a second movie. So my review was, get the damn humans out of the way and go back to Ken Watanabe and go let them fight. Like, just if you're giving me 90 minutes, give me 90 minutes of ball. Well, I don't know about balls to the wall because we already went there a little bit.
We haven't even seen their balls. So
yeah, not yet. I got a disturbing meme of whale penises in my threads of Facebook this week. And but anyway, no. If you're just gonna throw together some crappy characters for the sake of screen time and showy actor egos, either make them worth it this 4th try, or just don't. Give me these 2 monsters that's duking it out.
And I think it can be done.
I think it can be done.
I mean, I feel like the last movie, not
King of the Monsters, right?
King of the Monsters was, I fell asleep. previous one, Skull Island, I really liked, and this movie is basically a direct sequel to Skull Island. And I thought that they had pretty good characters in Kong Skull Island. Especially John C. Reilly.
Can you go back to Aaron Taylor Johnson and Bryan Cranston and say you really cared? Because I can't.
Honestly,
well, Cranston was only on screen for like 10 minutes.
I cared about Cranston, and I cared about the fact that Juliette Binoche was in a Godzilla movie. I'm like, come on, she wasn't in there long enough, but
is that a heavy enough anchor to bring you 4 movies later? And I think
that was the same year that Age of Ultron came out, so it was I was like Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are also married in Godzilla movie, and
things are different in Sokovia.
It was the year before.
It was
2012 and 2013 was Godzilla.
Okay.
Right?
14 for Godzilla, 15 for Ultron. Yeah,
you're right.
Or I was thinking of something.
I have to say, looking back, I still remain that 2014's Godzilla was a good opener for all this. I thought it was. It really had a good like Spielberg Jaws approach of
zero camp too.
Yeah, I mean
it went hard.
Yeah, you felt the threat, and there was some really good camera work. And that one scene about those guys dropping down with like the red plumes of smoke, that was cool.
That was really cool.
I didn't pick up much on the last movie of that, like any cool approaches as far as cinematography and that. What I did like about this one, and when I say I liked this latest installment, I mean I just barely liked it. It was enough for me to be fun because it was the right kind of sci-fi, silly and dumb.
Okay.
And I think there was definitely silly and dumb human characters that were not very memorable and that I could have just totally done without. But the silly and dumb monster portions definitely superseded all that. And I do like the fact that this movie, out of all 4 of them, really ups the just kind of weird sci-fi fantasy of it all.
That's
I mean, we have these weird like it looked like these floating vehicles that Jack Kirby could have come up with from Sergeant Fury or
the
Fantastic
heave
Four.
vehicles.
The heave vehicles. I'm like, we're going there. Again, it's kind of like those the opening up with these pop tunes, oldies. We went there and now we're going here, and it's just okay. I'm in, and the way they look visually, they have these just like kind of like blue exhaust coming out, and they're like zipping around and everything, and then they go into the Hollow Earth portal or wormhole. It's almost like something out of 2001 or something. Right. It's just like this kaleidoscope. It's like nothing we've seen before in a big monster movie.
That's true.
At least a current one, and so I appreciated something different, and I even liked the end battle in Hong Kong. Like, there's a lot of critics who are like, "Oh, it was just a neon craziness," and I'm like, "Well, at least you could see what was happening."
This is true.
And it was like it was so garishly lit by all the neon skyscrapers that you could see what was going on, and it was aesthetically very interesting to me.
Because the last movie was rain and smoke everywhere.
I'm like, you have all these monsters. You have Godzilla going up against all these monsters, and I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, you're squinting.
And it's like it should have had wiper blades with that movie.
Yes, it should
have. I'm like, come on, man.
No, I'll grant the same historical cool points as an Edgar Rice Burroughs reader. To do the whole Jules Verne, Edgar Rice Burroughs, At Earth's Core, Journey to the Center of the Earth, like that's some cool points for going to some classical science fiction as a place you can kind of put a setting spot on. I just wish they would have spent more time there, because that, to me, like how cool that could be, it's a 30-minute dalliance to go get a weapon, and that's it.
Pretty much.
Like it had the whole movie kind of like went there, and like that's your setting. We skip a bunch of Skull Island, we skip a bunch of Hong Kong. Like if you went kind of primordial and stayed there, that's a really cool ballsy setting for a movie, and you kind of go out there, which is weird because all of this feels like an unraveling of the sweater and knit stuff that Edwards tried to start in 2014 that we were complimenting, because when he went so serious, and not the overused word we have is grounded. There's no way to really ground a big damn lizard tearing stuff up, but Edwards sure tried, you know. And then you got to Godzilla King of the Monsters, and you just went back to bashing toys together, where the camp came back. And then in this movie, you have the camp is still here because we're going to Hollow Earth, and I don't know how you have sunlight down there, but it looks bright and amazing and cool. And yeah, so cool points for a little bit, but then for what? I don't know.
Yeah.
Ian, we haven't heard your high-level thoughts.
He's got a long list.
He's got.
I also have a long review which I posted just before this this episode went up. So yeah, go check out all of our write-ups. I'll have links to them in the description here. Full disclosure, I saw Godzilla, I guess it was 2014. I did not see Skull Island or Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Ooh, you love Skull Island.
Now, and people have told me that, David, I know you're a big proponent of that movie. But after having watched Godzilla versus Kong, despite the recommendations, I just don't want to watch these movies again. I'm kind of done with them. And you know, I take your point about Hong Kong and being able to see things, because I remember, I think my last real experience with this stuff was I'm thinking of Pacific Rim, the first one, where it's like they're fighting in the water, in the rain, in the dark. And it's like, I get it. You're spending your bullets where you can. I didn't want to see what was happening in Hong Kong because, and it's very weird. I remember 2013. I think this is why it was in my head, was with Man of Steel. 40-minute protracted battle of Metropolis, and everyone losing their minds because of all the innocent people who are being, you know, murdered and injured because these two superhumans were duking it out. In this Hong Kong sequence, I wish I hadn't watched what I did, because that's a half hour of these buildings getting destroyed. And it's not like they evacuated this city or it's in this remote part. I would have rather that taken place in Middle Earth or Hollow Earth. Because
Middle Earth would be great.
Well, get some hobbits and some orcs in there.
My axe.
There you go. That's Gimli's axe. Oh, dude, that would have been amazing. But the thing is, and there was so much, there was so little going on in the movie for me to latch on to that my mind started going other places, and I was thinking, there's people clamoring to see this movie. You know, it's the first big push back into the theaters. They're hoping, you know, it's doing big business internationally. It's dropping on HBO Max, and there's a lot of anticipation for it. But I'm thinking people really want to go after the year that we've had. We've had millions of people around the planet dying. We've had businesses and cities destroyed, you know, incinerated in a lot of cases. We've had all of this death and destruction and chaos, and we've and you know, Hong Kong has its own share of problems. It is it's in danger of being figuratively obliterated by the CCP. That to watch a movie that's kind of reveling in all this, I'm like, it just feels off. It feels like a movie that I have seen many times before, but it also feels like a movie that not that I would have been okay with it 5 years ago. I still would have been bored, but it wouldn't have sat this wrong with me. And I know it was made and put together before COVID and all the stuff that happened last year, but it's just, it is a movie of our time, and it's not escapism. It's more confrontism, but it's so callous, and it's not an intention, because again, it's a dumb monster movie, but I just don't see, if people are like whooping up and cheering, I'm like, where's your line? Like, how are you entertained by this?
And I have to admit, like, going back to some of those old disaster movies we've cited, when big things are being destroyed, other movies have done it better, where you really see and feel, for better or worse, the human impact of that. Like when Independence Day is blowing up skyscrapers and torching cities, man, you see a lot of that peril. I don't, other than the little girl kind of staring down Kong a little bit here, and obviously Alexander Skarsgård kind of chasing around, do you see any kind of public peril in Hong Kong? I see buildings falling down.
You get a few shots of people like running. You get a few shots of people crushed underfoot, and buildings falling down on people. But yeah, I mean,
I agree. Struck harder back then, and it struck harder to carry that purpose of like true destruction and not just playful screwing around.
And I think it's the intention, because Independence Day is a sci-fi movie. It's a summer blockbuster, but in those moments, it is a horror movie. You really are meant to feel the impact and the awe of these things coming down, and out of complete surprise, like catching mankind unawares and wiping us out. In this movie, I get the feeling that Adam Wingard and his screenwriters, they wanted to have that fun of, we're going to have two big monsters duking it out in the city. The problem is, you go back 60 years or however long, and through all the movies that have come out in the interim, which I have not seen a whole lot of, again, confession time, it's different when you've got two guys in suits kind of slap fighting each other with like these paper mache buildings and model cars behind them, and you've got some rear projection of people going, oh my God, and running away, versus something that is so realistically rendered that, I mean, we're 20 years out from 9/11. And I'm going to be that guy. I remember when that happened, not only the Man of Steel stuff, because that was sort of an echo of it. People were like, it looks like a disaster movie. And for a little while, people were like, I don't know if we can do these kinds of movies anymore, because this isn't fun. And I had those flashbacks as I'm like, this is not entertaining to me.
I'm with you there. And I'll kind of self-advertise. I write an annual piece on 9/11. It's coming up on the 20th year here, in fact, or the 10th year I've written this piece on my website, where movies that just don't feel the same anymore because of maybe it's our desensitization, or it's the the idea of life, not I want to say imitating art, but unfortunately art imitating life. And I maybe I'm old and I'm a curmudgeon now, but I too cannot watch these movies with the same glee anymore, because I'm like, damn, somebody got killed, and that's not fun. And we can laugh and we can have all those jokes, like you said, with rear projection and the old school stuff, and know that it is. And that's, I guess I keep going back to that word camp. Like, it feels different when it's intentional, but with the hyper realism we make movies now, I don't think you can get away with that without going cartoonish. And maybe these things need to be more animated than shot now. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that, other than I'm with you.
I totally understand what you guys are saying. I think for me, there's a certain sense of nostalgia when it's giant monsters. For me, it plays into, like, as a young child, and seeing these monster movies and going, oh, this is cool. I'm with you. It's not cool to see like carnage and mass destruction in a metropolis setting. They could have just stayed in Pensacola and just totally destroyed Pensacola. That would have been fine. But no, nothing. No offense.
There go the Florida tourism dollars.
There goes our Florida viewers. But yeah, I mean, imagine if Kong and Godzilla just totally, obliterated Florida.
Chicago.
If the climactic fight wasn't Hong Kong, it was Walt Disney World, that would have been something. But
have it happen during COVID, those places would be empty anyway.
Well,
yeah,
that would have been very interesting as a disaster movie during COVID. But
Godzilla and Kong wearing masks.
I think for me, the big problem I had with Man of Steel was that these are two sentient beings with supposed stuff going on in between their ears, and they got something going on. They at least they should, they should be conscious of life. These are beasts, these are giant creatures, and you don't expect them to be like, hey, whoa, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you. Let's take this to the sea.
Superman would, as you've said it before.
I think Superman would, and that's a diss to the writers of Man of Steel, is that he didn't. I guess I totally understand, and that's one of the reasons why I couldn't stand San Andreas. I was just like, it was just disaster porn. It was just it was just nonstop. With this, I mean, the fact that we have a Mecha Godzilla, the fact that there's just, to me, there was just so much silliness. There was enough silliness to distract me.
I hear you.
From just feeling the gravity of like major carnage or mass loss here, and in a movie where the humans just seem so inconsequential anyway, the actual characters, my focus was really primarily on my man, the big ape, and the scaly green guy. So I generally, I'm with you. I do have a sensitivity for that, but when it comes to these giant monster movies, I'm just, it's in such a, I know we did mention, the G word, grounded, not Godzilla, but grounded. They're just such a different world. They're in such a different world than reality that it just doesn't dawn on me enough. Now, I will say, Gareth Edwards,
that film did it right.
That had a weight to it as far as the disaster is considered. Where you sometimes it was almost like a Cloverfield type thing, where sometimes the monster action was blocked out by either skyscrapers or shadows or a door closing or whatever. That was pretty cool. I like that approach. Here, it's just, first of all, I really appreciated the first battle, that it actually took place during the day. It was at sea. You could literally just see what was going on, and I appreciated the homage to the quick homage to Jaws, where I think Godzilla has half of a aircraft carrier locked into his scales, and you could see the top of the ship floating and then going underneath the other aircraft carrier that Kong was standing on. So it was totally like the yellow buoys from Jaws. It's like, that's when you could tell where Jaws was. It's like when they popped up and then it went underneath. But
there weren't people trapped in those buoys drowning.
I know, that's like 600
No, all those ships were empty. They were unmanned. You didn't know that?
Oh, right, yeah. No, but I was, even before the Hong Kong stuff, I was thinking about that, because I'm like, yeah, these are aircraft carriers. There are people on these ships. I was unclear, and my wife, that was really fun, because she sat down, kind of like with Zack Snyder's Justice League. She came in a little bit into the movie and just sat down and was completely lost. And I was trying to explain stuff, and some of the stuff I was trying to explain wasn't even things that she'd missed. She's like, how is that ship supporting the weight of King Kong? He's like skating around on it. I'm like, oh, I know. No, what? I got nothing.
That's been my challenge, like I mentioned before, since the 2014 restart. Like I feel like the errors of that, I hate to say grounded again, but like the errors of that weren't as apparent in 2014. Like I still felt it was really dumb in 2014 that something that big could sneak up on anything. We have Tyrannosaurus Rexes in movies that can rattle the ground. Like if a garbage can falls in the alley, I hear it 2 floors away. So, for Godzilla to like sneak around a train in Honolulu, please. But I get that that's the movies and that's where you're going to play all that sort of thing. Now, but you started that way in 2014 with at least enough, like what David said, the Cloverfield, the human view of that, where it felt more tangible. And then by the time you get to, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and everyone's done that same meme of like, how is Godzilla standing up right now in a 14,000 foot deep ocean? But I've seen that meme and all that. Is he standing on top of an iceberg or something? What's going on? And then same thing with the aircraft carrier. Like, oh my goodness, does it look cool to do that? But like, maybe that goes with the realism of the making the movie. Like, I feel like there's a line somewhere of how can you, at what point can you have both and have it still work? Like, what point can you have, I don't want to say scientific accuracy, but like a grounded, tangible approach, and then still the fun factor, and I keep calling it camp, but the fun factor, where can you have both? And to me, other movies have done it better. I keep going back to Independence Day and stuff like that. But
Jurassic Park is another example.
Oh, sure. Like the aircraft carrier scene is a cool poster, an amazing thing, but I'm the same way. Like, there's no way that thing would stay up. Like, fat lizard gets in the end, you're going, I can't get on a pool float with my children on it, let alone an aircraft carrier.
Oh, did you just compare yourself? Okay, all right.
I did. I'm a fat lazy lizard. Sorry.
Well, here's the thing though. I think I can't get inside the heads of the people who are making this movie, but I feel like there's more attention being paid to the casting. Let's get some high profile people in here to give it some legitimacy, because it's got a great cast, completely wasted in this movie. It's also on the special effects and not enough attention on the screenplay. For sure, we are talking about classic, adventure blockbuster movies that did incredibly well that we're still talking about today and didn't insult the audience's intelligence. It's possible to do this. I'm thinking about Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. Let's look at Batman Begins and even The Dark Knight. Those are comic book movies about people who dress up in capes and put funny makeup on and go and like punch each other in the street and fight crime. Yet they take themselves very seriously as far as creating a realistic world, but still you've got Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne kind of like wisecracking, kind of making fun of himself, and there's that whole montage of him like trying out the cowls and they break easily. It's like, well, we got to order another 75,000 of these. So it's possible to have something that is smart and funny and serious. And I just feel like the people at Warner Brothers, like, that's sort of a Joel Schumacher approach when he was directing the Batman movie. Like, it's a comic book, you guys. We don't have to take it seriously. Just who cares? Yeah. Get people in there who do care. Even with Adam Wingard, who I honestly don't think much of as a director, but even with him, I think with a tighter script, this could have been something special, not just passable.
But it's like, how? I mean, honestly, it's like, how do you make a good monster versus monster screenplay? How do you make a good one?
Easily. I mean, the thing is, if the characters the human characters in this movie are all stock, they make no sense. You've got Brian Tyree Henry playing. He's a conspiracy podcaster.
Who works podcasters.
But he works for Apex. He is an undercover guy who's getting dirt on this Apex corporation to broadcast in his podcast. He's going into work with a thumb drive, putting it into a computer to steal us information. I worked at a gaming company up until recently. I could not put my own thumb drive into any computer in the company without it sending a signal to IT saying unauthorized user. Now, I get he was possibly a super hacker too and all this other stuff, but it's just none of it makes any sense. How does this company, I mean, they had to have known this guy's done 250 episodes of his show and no one's figured out, hey, there's a guy who's broadcasting our secrets on the internet. That's just one, I'll call him a character, but it's just an idea that people thought was cute. There are people out there who are writing comic books that are way smarter than this. I'm not trying to denigrate comics. I'm just saying, you get a Grant Morrison or a Neil Gaiman to come and write a Godzilla movie. They're going to give you something that's going to blow your mind and change what these movies could be. For right now, I feel like because we're having this conversation about it's stock characters, they've always been lousy in these movies. Well, let's stop thinking about the way things have been for a half century and thinking about what they're going to be like in the new century. Because as much as these things are popular right now, I have a feeling within the next 10, 20 years, this generation coming up, they're so over irony and chintz that they're going to be like, I don't want to watch a stupid lizard ape movie. I don't care how nice it looks. Just put this stuff away. Yeah.
For me, I think the way to do it is to simplify, just you don't have to have a zillion things going on. Have a narrative of intersection with a few handlers and humans in between, and spare yourself a few. Like, if you want to put your money into the fights, do that. Like, just have a collision course towards one thing, not 7 things. Like, we didn't need a way to get Kong off the damn island. We didn't need a way to get Kong to Antarctica. We didn't need a way to get Kong into Hollow Earth. We didn't need a way for Godzilla to stop in Pensacola for pick his mail. Like, we just simplify that down to just one trajectory to one thing, have gravitas along the way, because you're mounting towards the one big anticipatory thing, and that's enough. If you have the 2 biggest, most popular monster franchise characters you've got, you don't need any window dressing for that. Just get them on a collision course and take your time going there. If you need to, just to really slow play it up, that's it. That's all you need. I'm not saying you got to black and white and do this like Gunda. We don't need like an A24 film of like Ari Aster doesn't need to make this movie.
I'd watch that though. I'm not an Ari Aster fan, but I would watch an Ari Aster Godzilla v Kong.
But like what was that? The Japanese made one a few years ago, Shin Godzilla, where like it was a lot of humans but simplified and methodical. Like, that's all you need.
Make this into we used you brought up Cloverfield, David. Make this into a war movie where mankind is under siege because these monsters are attacking each other, and the Earth is completely changed. I mean, at the end of this film, I guess I'm supposed to feel warm inside because both these titans have defeated Mechagodzilla, and Godzilla just decided, oh, I'm just going to walk back into the ocean now.
Yeah.
He's coming back.
I'll be back again someday.
Yeah. Right, because I know that they kind of establishes, again, I've not seen the previous two films, but they established that up until the Pensacola attack in the beginning, Godzilla was seen as a protector of Earth because he, defeated Ghidorah and, I guess Mothra or whoever the hell. But now you're like, oh my God, we're on edge because he's attacking for no reason. Turns out he's attacking because he senses Mechagodzilla or something being constructed, and it's a preemptive thing. That's kind of a cool idea, but again, I think there needs to be more attention paid to, go back to the Marvel movies. Once all these alien attacks and mutants are happening, the government's getting involved and saying, no, we got to sanction this stuff and put a stamp on it. And then that leads to all these great story ideas.
And we've seen in Marvel, we've seen a changed world. We've seen, look at WandaVision, like a town being kind of held captive, with the fears and sensibilities of these superheroes at work. And then we're watching it in Falcon and Winter Soldier now of like, just when those things happen in the world, how does that reverberate with terrorism, with governments, with, like you said, Sokovia Accords, and now we have a blip where half of the universe's human beings were gone, and you've brought that back, and instead of just being like a fun way of getting rid of some characters for a while, it has reverberated. Not a thing from these four movies has reverberated other than the fact that Kong came back from the second movie to the fourth movie. That's it.
Yeah,
it'd be different if like an older Tom Hiddleston shows up to be like, I was there in 1970s on that island, and like he saves the day instead of Alexander Skarsgård, where there's at least a woven thing. But then you killed Watanabe off 2 movies ago, so I don't know.
I'm also struck by, there's guys in this movie, but Godzilla versus Kong suffers from a glaring lack of men. You've got Alexander Skarsgård, who's just kind of like this watery-eyed dude who's following Rebecca Hall around. You've got Kyle Chandler, who's in the movie for all of 5 minutes, using some of that Bruce Wayne teleporting tech. I don't know how the hell he got from America to Hong Kong in like an hour.
Right.
All those Hollow Earth caves.
Oh
my God. And you've got like the podcast guy, you've got the chubby sidekick who's following 11 around. And then all the women are like the archetypical ball busting, I'm an empowered woman character. And again, I'm not trying to say there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that it seems like they've slanted the tables completely in one direction. Whereas the movies that we're talking about were confident enough in the give and take between the sexes to have, funny, strong male and female characters. If I'm stuck with these people for an hour, let's say, of this runtime, I'd better be engaged with them. Instead, I'm just like, what are you doing? What are any of you doing? And why did you not? You're all talking like tired robots. Rebecca Hall is one of the most engaging, interesting actors. I love her. And she's talking like Charlize. She's talking like Charlize Theron in Prometheus. And this
great
movie.
Comparison.
Well, the premise of this movie is Prometheus. You've got this businessman who has an experimental craft that he gives to two down on their luck scientists to go find an undiscovered world that has the secrets probably to humanity's origins. And I'm like, I would rather be watching that. And I don't like Prometheus.
Wasn't Charlize in that other giant ape movie from the 90s?
Mighty Joe Young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
There we go.
Good callback.
But like Julian Dennison as the tech sidekick for Millie Bobby Brown from Hunt for the Wilder People, a wasted character.
Why? Yeah. Why do we need him?
And here you're talking about
because he has a vehicle.
I know. And you're talking about smarts where like if you put a flash drive at your place of business, you get flagged. But a cup of water will disable all of Mechagodzilla when you need it to.
That was so funny. That was awesome.
And what's this about like bathing with bleach to avoid detection by the government? I'm like, I don't know if that's a thing, but
don't try it at home.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go eat some Tide Pods after this and see how it turns out, right?
Well, that's
the other guy. Tide Pods, kid. Don't eat Tide Pods.
That actor showed up in that with that one line about the Tide Pods. I'm like, this guy, I feel bad for this actor because he always shows up in these thankless Asian roles. Yeah. And I'm like, come on. I mean, Asian roles, that sounds good. I'm hungry. Oh boy. But But
let me get that Diet Coke again.
Yeah.
So here we go.
but you know, it just seems like why are these guys? I know why these actors are signing up for these movies, because it's a freaking monster movie. I would sign up for them to just to get smushed on by Godzilla and just, you know, be part of the carnage. Fine.
You hear that, Mr. Wingard? If you need an extra for
need another loudmouth podcaster. Yeah. I'm not going to get too upset over all this because it's what we've been given. And yes, it could be better, but at least to me, the monsters in this movie is better than what we got in the last movie.
For fleeting moments.
I would kind of implore you to see Skull Island just to say that there are some pretty good human characters in that movie. It does get obviously somewhat ridiculous, sure. But man, John C. Reilly.
Yes.
Anyway.
Worth it just for him.
Well, and I do want to say, because I've been trashing this movie a lot, and it's something that really it took my breath away, it captured my heart, and then it made me immediately frustrated and mad. There is a moment in here. It's with the little deaf girl. I assume she was from the previous movie.
No,
first time.
Not at all.
First
Really?
timer.
Because the way they establish it, because Rebecca Hall's on Skull Island, I assume that the little native girl were from the last movie or something.
Her tribe was part of Skull Island, and she's supposedly the last of her tribe. Supposedly, I don't know.
Oh, okay. So she's a little deaf girl, and she comes along with Rebecca Hall. They're on this aircraft carrier before it gets attacked. They've got Kong in chains. This is when they discover that Kong knows sign language. But there's a scene in the rain where she goes out to meet him, and they do the ET thing where they're communicating with touching fingers. It's cheesy, but it is a beautiful.
It is a beautiful shot.
It's a beautifully rendered moment, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking, this is the poetry. This is the soul that I want from the rest of this movie. This is what this movie could be. You could have a violent version of this, moment here. It's something that it's positive connection between characters, and I just want to. I would buy an art print of that and hang it on my wall.
Yeah. And I tell you what, though, as soon as that was part of the marketing for this movie, I knew Kong would win. Like they're not gonna put all of that into the marketing and have this adorable little girl crying over a dead ape. You're like, nope. I knew as soon as that happened, I'm like, shit, there goes.
And the thing is he didn't win. It's like Batman versus Superman. No one wins. It's like.
And the director kind of is on record saying there would be a definitive winner. And I guess you have a walk away loser and a stand there winner, but come on, I wouldn't call that definitive.
The definitive winner is both of them. I mean, honestly, it was at the point where the end, I really wanted a high five between the two of them.
Sure.
Or just as they walk away, just a nod.
Sure.
You know what? In this movie, if they'd given a high five, there would have been a passenger jet flying right between their hands.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah, awesome. That would have been awesome. Have you learned nothing from our conversation?
I thought I forgot. I didn't hear the crash part. I thought it was just flying through the high five, like. Woo!
Yeah.
Then it would have to be
Dylan, you son of a bitch.
Then it would have to be in Manhattan. It'd be like America.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Freedom costs $1.05. Yeah, here we go. Yeah.
That's what made this movie better. If the team of America World Police would have shown up to take these guys down, complete with the strings.
Another place in terms of tone that I'm going to kind of knock here a little bit, because I thought it was nondescript compared to where it's been in other places, is, and Ian, you haven't seen the last movie, but Barry McCreary, the composer who did Kong King of the Monsters, brought back the old Godzilla themes and just amped them up for showiness' sake, where the just the brassy, ballsy old Godzilla theme, and like that helped for me, the last movie, at least kind of be cool. And I know I just complimented him a podcast ago where
Junkie
XL, Thomas Holkenberg, who helped Zack Snyder's Justice League really get a better tone by taking away the bad Danny Elfman riffs and tightening that whole thing up. Just lays down nondescript drums here where there's no fun. Like if you have this big showdown and Godzilla's got a great theme, and I'm not saying you got to go get Howard Shore, or I guess it's James Newton Howard. I'm not saying you got to go bring back a Kong thing from someplace, or even the '70s one with, I think, is that Goldsmith who did the old '70s one? But like, just, you've got Godzilla comes in with WWE entrance music. You can't have that with Kong too, like, and really amp it up, and that's not there either. So
yeah, I actually went back recently to the score from Alexander, is it Desplat?
Yeah, and I thought that was vague too.
Butcher his last name. I thought that was a really good score from 2014. I kind of forget Skull Island score because there were so many classic rock.
Well, they went the Guardians of the Galaxy route, you know.
They did, and kind of in that movie.
I gotta watch this movie now. Damn,
I know,
you guys
you
are
really
making me break my own pact to myself.
You really do, because like even just like the straight up kills are like, whoa, you know,
awesome
because of like all the other monster characters on Skull Island that inhabit Skull Island with Kong is just like, you know, it's like the humans aren't in that much of a danger from Kong. It's just all these other characters or all these other creatures.
I know why you like the score in Kong Skull Island. It's your guy Henry Jackman.
Yeah, that's true. I do like
there
it.
You go.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I did like the moments with Kong and the little deaf girl. That was good. I thought it was funny that, you know, she teaches him sign language and nobody else notices that. You know, it's like, are you even studying what's under the dome? It's like, okay.
Yeah, how he's not on 24/7 surveillance, I'll never know.
Oh yeah, and supposedly
especially
he is
in the shower.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's the other thing is I assumed that this was another relic from the previous movie, but no, it just turns out Kong just knows sign language now. All right.
Well, the thing too is that you're not aware of, because you didn't see Skull Island, is Skull Island took place in the 70s. So that means that since the 70s, he's been on Skull Island. How long has this dome been up? We don't know.
Yeah, no they have that crazy honeycomb technology back then, or they
they had honeycomb cereal back then, but I don't know.
Honeycomb cereal.
Yeah. I think that this movie was fun enough and silly and dumb enough, you know, from a monster, nostalgic monster perspective for me, that I could recommend it. But you know, again, as far as the humans, I'm sitting there thinking, I know why Alexander Skarsgård signed up for this, because it's like, you know, it's again, it's a monster movie, it's fun, you know, but like this guy is basically like, I think he's a like a failed monarch scientist or something like that.
He's an author. He's an author and scientist, so he might as well be Aaron Eckhart from The Core.
Right. And
the most conveniently ripped and good-looking college professor all of us will ever know. You know, just like Aaron Eckhart.
And it's funny because this isn't the first movie in this line of in this world-building monsterverse where the opening credits almost tells like this, you know, 20-minute short story that you have to lean in close and like, oh, okay. So it basically,
I got a joke,
because it basically indicated that this Dr. Lind that Alexander Skarsgård plays was originally on an expedition, supposedly with his brother. And I'll get to all that in a minute. But it's like, why are we trying to? It's almost like you're trying to cram a worthwhile story in these opening credits where they could have gone into it a little bit more. I don't know.
Wow, this just knocks the movie down in my estimation, because again, I thought all of this was just recap from the previous movies that I hadn't seen.
No.
So the whole thing, like his brother getting squished when gravity like reversed it.
No.
What the hell?
All off-screen stuff.
And that's the thing too, is like the screenplay tries to bring in an element, like a theme of all these characters have lost something, you know, loss, grief, you know,
their keys.
The podcaster guy lost his wife. Okay, that seems so inconsequential, because how does that help his motivations? You know, his wife wasn't, you know, smashed by Godzilla or anything like that. Okay, and then, you know, Millie Bobby Brown's character lost her mom, you know, and this new character, Dr. Lin, lost his brother in an expedition. Okay, but not, it's just mentioned in passing, and that's it, you know. And so it's like there's not. First of all, there's no time to grieve in these movies because it's just like boom, 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 which is fine to me. I mean, these should be fast paced, but it's just like, why bother mentioning it when you're trying to shoehorn some really kind of important themes here, but you're not doing anything with them.
Well, I'll go back to Independence Day again. Like when the actress's name, she's in Battlestar Galactica. It was
Mary McDonnell.
Yeah, when she dies.
Yeah,
and they have that moment between Bill Pullman and the daughter, who's Mae Whitman. Like, okay, it didn't take long, but you get a 4-minute scene that hits you enough to be like, and that closes the day, and the credit comes on July 3rd. Like, and shit's gonna go down some more. And like, would it kill you to stop 2 seconds and maybe grieve? You know, I'm not saying grieve and stop, but like, just slow down, and do one thing instead of 12 things.
Well, I mean, it's going back to something we opened with, I think, this idea of the characters in this movie. I feel like they're almost obligatory. Like there's a fear on the part of the studios that we can't literally just have 2 hours of these monsters punching each other. We have to have human characters in it. I don't think you do, because I think the people who really want to go see this movie, that's what they talk about. Like every time you bring up characters, like, it's 2 hours of monsters punching each other, man. What do you want? I'm like, well, okay, let's just see that. And leave the characters out of it, because you either put the characters in and do something with them, or you might as well just leave them out, especially if they're going to take up an hour of the movie's runtime. When you're not watching monsters, you're watching these people, quote unquote, run around because they're all half asleep doing nonsensical things.
Yeah. I mean, as a kid watching the Godzilla movies, even though I was a big fan of Kong, watching the Godzilla movies was a little bit more tantalizing to me, just because it was all in a foreign language pretty much.
Yeah.
And so I could read the subtitles if I wanted to, but I was a kid who was gobsmacked by this crazy, silly, even as a kid, I knew that there was a guy in a rubber suit, but still I was like, cool, and so to me, there was it's almost like I was leaning in a little bit closer, just because I could focus on the visuals, because I couldn't really understand.
Yeah, it plays like a silent film at that point.
Yeah. And so, like, some of the best sequential art, the comic books, you could, if you take away the thought bubbles and the word balloons, you could follow basically storyboards. If you could follow those really well, then that's a successful story. I would be totally game for, not necessarily a silent, because you need the big noise and
no.
But yeah, I mean, just something that's less humans, more monsters. There was, I think, maybe it was after 2014's Godzilla, I think on Netflix, they put out like 3 animated Godzilla movies. I think they're still out there. Those were pretty cool.
Like connected to this
I don't know,
Monsterverse thing going on here?
I think it was rising on the popularity of that release, but it really had nothing to do with that world.
I didn't know if they like meant to tie, like, what was it, the Animatrix, where those were little stories that plugged into the main Matrix, or
no, not really. I think this was just capitalizing the fact that, hey, there's a Godzilla out there. Well, let's do this as well. Right. And that was really interesting. You just had more time to work with characters, and honestly, make fun of at least the first Pacific Rim all you want.
I will.
I thought the human characters in that movie, not the sequel, that movie was much better than any that we've seen in these 4 movies.
I agree with that.
I just think that
not much, but better,
not by much, no. But at least you're spending. I mean, there's a reason for it. I mean, these are humans getting into giant suits.
Yeah,
like robot jobs or something. It's like
I'll agree with that. I was not a fan of Pacific Rim, but part of that was the tone. I mean, I know Guillermo del Toro was a big fan of the source, the cultural source material, but I just felt like he camped it up a little bit too much.
For sure. Especially the Ron Perlman stuff.
Oh,
so,
yes.
But I will give it to you. I mean, I think the characters and their motivations in that movie are 1,000 times clearer and more compelling than what's going on.
Yeah.
Here. Don, I want to get to you. You said you had a joke.
Remember the opening, like the opening credits little, like you thought it was like a storytelling recap.
Yeah.
I laughed at the fact that there's like a tournament.
The March Madness.
Yeah, like what are we doing here? Like, let's get to Kong versus Godzilla now.
Even I too was watching with my wife, and even she was like, "What is this?
Yeah.
What are we doing here?" It's like
with all of that not being recap, it is way too fast of like prologue, and then to throw in all the
Destroy.
the March Madness buildup, like it was like watching remember the Incredibles when Mr. Incredible's watching all the previous Omnidroid attempts and all the guys who died
because of their cape and stuff.
Yeah, and like how it got to him, like that's you get that with pointless and plotless at the beginning of a movie that's supposed to matter. So I can't do it.
Well, I think we've pretty much covered Godzilla versus Kong. I'm happy we're all still friends. Wasn't quite sure how this was going to go. I know we're probably going to get ratioed all over the internet because people are really sticking up for this movie.
Did you say ratioed?
Ratioed, yes. It's internet speak, David.
Okay, I don't know.
Okay. it's where your dislikes far outweigh your likes.
Okay. Well, I get that every day.
We still love you. But anyway, David Fowley of Keeping It Real, Don Shanahan of Every Movie Has a Lesson, 25 years later, and Cinephile Hissy Fit is the second. This episode is coming out Friday. So when is the second of your conversations coming out?
I don't. I'm actually figuring that out right now. I have no idea. Someday.
Someday. All right. Someday. Well, when it does,
it was fun while it lasted for one, guys. No.
Been there.
We got 5 of them banked. We'll see how far we get.
Cool. Okay. Well, let me know when it happens, and we'll boost the signal. And I think, given the reality of when this episode is posting, I'll be talking to you guys tonight about Falcon and Winter Soldier Mission Report. So tune in at 8:30 p.m. Central. That episode was amazing.
Time travel.
I haven't seen it yet.
Time travel's tricky.
What?
The blip happened again? I can't believe it.
Yeah, I can't believe Wanda was dead the whole time. No, all right, man. You guys, thanks. Take care, and I do we have a clear winner in this conversation?
You're the host.
You avoided half of these bad movies.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why I feel so triumphant. I love it. All right. All right. Thanks, gang. See you later.
Yep.
All right, good check.
Did
you draw that just now? Oh my god!
That's my Colonel Kursk. What are you going for there?
That's my Don Shanahan abstract drawing.
What markers are you using there?
I'm using highlighters.
What?
And some brush pens.
Okay.
More highlighters.
Oh man.
Save that for when I see you again. I will gladly keep that one as a winner.
Yeah, there's
that's going on the refrigerator right there.
It's a Sharpie brush pen.
Okay.
Ooh, that sounds dangerous.
Yeah,
it does.
All right.
It just so you know, it does help me pay attention. Usually people are like, hey, why are you distracted? No, I'm focused on you guys. So
that's cool. I want to see you do a Zemo on Friday because I like your faux cap.
Yes. Good stuff. Now I heard, guys, that this coming episode is the longest yet. So
I heard what you heard.
Yeah.
Like, how long are we talking?
At least an hour, I think.
Oh, okay. Well,
so
that's fine.
44 minutes. Got it. Okay.
Was that what? Yeah, exactly.
Again, yeah.
Hey, it's not like WandaVision where there's 9 minutes of credits.
Yeah.
Well, that's good because they got a lot of ground to cover. Because it's a shorter season. So
exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will catch you guys soonish. Thanks again, and have a great night.
Thank you. Get some
See
sleep.
you later.
I'll try.